So, hi everybody, and welcome to round eight in the D1a in the spring season. We've got a lot of very exciting games, and we can see that a lot of the referees and the reports are looking a lot more engaged. So there's definitely been steps where we can say that we are improving as a group. So it's very exciting, and of course, soon we'll be looking at making those assignments for the playoffs. So really looking forward to that. Wanted to say thank you to Mark Nelson and to Amanda Cox for running the meetings in the last 2 weeks. I really appreciate it. And let's get right into it. So we've got two games today, and the first one is going to be Kirk Swanner, and Timmy O'Gara was his coach. It's San Diego State against Cal State Long Beach, and it's over to you.
Thanks so much, Richard. So I pulled a couple clips. So I was hoping to play two clips back to back and then talk about the two. Do you want me to go about where my stats my first time presenting?
Yeah. If you can just give us a general overview of what you thought of the game, and then maybe Timmy can add something to it. Just your impression of the match, and what was your pre-match and how that all played out.
Yeah, so the match was a good one. Two teams that were pretty skilled, looking to play some rugby. So I was trying to really find a balance between allowing competitions to occur, particularly at the breakdown, and then also trying to police the breakdown so that we can get quick ball and have expansive rugby. So it was pretty contentious there, and so it was a tough one to do, but it was pretty fun. My big thing going into the game was try to be very clear and concise with my communication, and then be very good at my positioning and move quickly from point to point or target to target. So those were kind of my goals going into the game.
And your obviously your positioning was good, because I see Timmy made some comments about it to me.
Yeah, Kirk moved around the field smoothly. He always seemed to be in the right place at the right time, without being able to say what he was doing to get there or how he was doing it to get there. But wherever he needed to be, he was always there. And then something he'd put in his pre-match plan was when and when not to play advantage. And I thought he did a very good job of that, because he didn't play advantage when teams were deep in their own territory, but then he allowed advantage to go on when one side was clearly struggling to win their own line out. So giving them the quick penalty and kicking to touch wasn't going to be great for them. It was probably easier to allow them to play out the advantages. So he did a good job on that too. And the quality of rugby was very good.
Excellent. Kirk, so one comment, you said penalty count is a bit higher than normal. What did you take out of the game from this?
It was a bit tougher because I felt like the penalties came in spurts. And so typically I really try to work hard to talk them out of penalties as much as I possibly can. And there was just a couple times when they would just come in like a gang of like four of them in a row. And so I was trying to, in those situations, I find it tough to do anything other than blow the whistle when needed.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Timmy?
I sometimes disagree with preconceived notions about trying to keep penalties down going into games. When it's a penalty, it's a penalty. And one of the teams just were a little bit more ill-disciplined than the other team, and it looked like probably not as well coached. And just like the story of rugby around the world, the team that gives away the most penalties is the team that loses. And that was very much the case here. The team with the high penalty count was the team that lost.
Yeah. So just a question here. So this first one here, Kirk, you mentioned in front of kicker missed here. Um,
That was the
was that a
comment. That was Tim's comment, and then somehow when I went in, he made the comment first, and when I came in afterwards, it then
uh,
showed me in blue.
okay? We'll definitely look into that. But now you marked it as a penalty kick. Did you award a penalty kick? Yeah.
I didn't. I don't believe actually.
That was me when I made because I made the clip separate from
Yeah.
his clips. It flipped where the colors are, but
Yeah. But y- you marked it as a penalty kick though.
yeah, sorry, I made a new clip and said it should have been a penalty kick, but I suppose I should have left it blank.
Yeah. So just make sure you left it blank. So maybe you don't have 28 penalty kicks. Who knows? It's a couple
It
of
was
those
still.
in the report.
Uh,
You know what I'm saying? So if you see an error that should have been a penalty kick, we don't mark it as a penalty kick, right?
Okay.
You just leave this blank because every time you mark something as a penalty kick, it's going to come up in the stats as an actual penalty that's awarded. Does that make
I
sense?
will go back and
Yeah.
yeah, go back and fix that.
Yeah. Get your penalty kick count down. Yeah, maybe you can change this comment here.
I'm not sure it'll be that many off, but yeah.
You never know. You never know. Okay, well, let's go to the clips. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. So I was wanted to see ball carrier continue. So I have two of them, 1 and 2. So I was kind of hoping to show the two clips back to back, and then I'll kind of talk through why I blew the whistle one and not the other.
Okay, great.
So this one, obviously, I did blow the penalty here.
Mhm.
So it's black, 3 on attack, gets back up. So Timmy and I disagree on if this is a penalty or not.
Mhm.
Um, and then if we want, we can show the next one, and then kind of talk between the two.
Okay.
So obviously, the ball carrier here doesn't even release the ball, but it's a line break, attacking team inside the 22. No defenders really around to do any sort of contesting. I'm not going to blow the whistle on that one. Whereas in the first one, ball carrier, releases the ball, gets back up and plays it, but there's so much traffic around. He had guys coming up. For me in that situation, and there's still defenders around as well. To me, in that situation, there's so much traffic that just he needs to leave it alone and let the ruck occur. But I'd be interested to hear what other refs in the call what they would do in these situations because they're two. I feel like
Uh,
the two are similar.
yeah. Hey, Kirk. It's Matt Lake. So in that first clip, did you feel like in the moment that the ball carrier had fully reestablished his feet, or do you think he was still in the process of doing so? Because I'm hearing you say that it seems like you're factoring in how much traffic was around as opposed to whether the player was controlled the ground, and then after that, did they reestablish their feet?
Red was there. He gets cleaned out. To me, that's a ruck. He needs to leave it alone. That's what kind of went through my head on that one. It's also like neutral. Like if it was a line break, different story, but it's a neutral situation. If that was a positive tackle for San Diego State, where Red's going forward, Black's going back, even different scenario for me in that situation. But
You didn't think that the wreck was over in this clip?
it could be. He clears out, but then he's got other ball carriers right behind him, or other defense supporters right behind him pretty quickly. So, yeah, hindsight, it's pretty ticky tacky, but
Yeah, it just seems like he fully reestablishes his feet with his hands off the ball. With at that point, the ruck is there the clear is beyond the ruck. There's no one over the ball. There's nobody kind of there. He has the right to get up and play, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I thought
Yeah.
it was there.
Kirk, in the first one, did he clearly release the ball? I can't tell on my screen size.
Ish.
Good.
He does.
Yeah.
For me, it doesn't really matter whether there's traffic or not. I just go back to the laws. If he gets tackled and doesn't release the ball, whether there's traffic or not, I'm still going with not releasing, and vice versa. If he's not held, even if there's traffic, he can stand back up, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and Kirk, in neither of those clips did you act.
Go ahead, Tig.
The tick disappear.
It's such a good question. The phone cut out.
Yeah. The first clip, it looked to me as if ruck was over and there was a release.
Yeah. And there was a release.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we play on. Question here is,
Was it a tackle?
yeah, exactly. If you feel that the player was held when they're brought to ground, then they've got to release the ball. If you feel that they weren't held, their knee hadn't touched the ground before
Kirk, on the
tackler let go of them.
On the second one, Kirk, if there was traffic, would you feel that you would have called it differently?
To me, it's a line break. They have such positive momentum going forward. Yeah.
But that shouldn't matter, right? It shouldn't matter whether you're going forward. Yeah, whether you're going forward or backwards. Is the tackle complete or not? That's literally, it's just the law. It's not like, because he's going forward, he doesn't have to do a certain thing. He still has to play within the laws. So if you feel like he was tackled, whether there's traffic there or not, and he has to release. If you feel like he wasn't tackled, then if there's no traffic or positive or negative, doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, I mean, to me, like the tackle wasn't totally completed, but he wasn't held, brought to ground.
I agree with that.
Yeah, first player slipped off before he went down, and the second player wasn't holding him; he just sort of resting his arm across his waist.
Yep. So that's fair enough, I think.
No tackle. Play on.
Play on. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, and what was mentioned earlier is that, especially in these situations, it's got to be accuracy in law in those situations, especially when somebody scores. So what you could do in this situation to help be very clear to everybody when that player gets up, is just to put your arms in the air to say, like, play on. Right. So, which means, according to you, there was no tackle and the player can get up. And it's the same, like, if there's a turnover, that you would also do that. So let me just see if I can do this quickly, so we can just see me in the screen there. So you would just say, you can just say play on, so that everybody knows that you've seen something and that it's not controversial and that we're playing on. So it's the same, like if there's a counter ruck or something, you can also go play on. Or if the ball came out, the ball's already out the ruck and somebody comes around, you go play on. Because all you're doing is you're communicating to all the players, to all the coaches, and to all the spectators that you've seen it and you're happy with it and you're going to play on. So it just helps to solidify your decision as a referee, or like non-decision, right? So it's definitely something to always consider in those situations. It just makes it easier for everybody to follow the story. But that's great. I mean, it's definitely play on to try. And I think that the previous one, probably was a little bit too technical. The player did everything correctly and the ruck was over. If there was still somebody's over the ball, then they wouldn't be able to pick it up. Okay, so what's next?
I've got the not fail to retire 10 meters. So it's a little bit of kicking tennis going back and forth here, and red kicks here, and so So red one there never comes, doesn't even try to retire to the 10-meter line.
Yeah.
Kirk, this is Alex. What was your communication in that ping pong back and forth to those red players?
Work.
Any other words that you could use?
Yeah, there's plenty of words I could use. In the moment, that's usually what I say to them. Keep working.
Yeah.
Usually what I say. But, in this situation, he just stands there, and luckily his own teammate regathers the ball. So, didn't blow it here. In the next clip, it's basically the exact same thing in the exact same player. Failure to retreating 10 meters.
Is it number 1? Oh, it's number 2 there.
Yeah, there's a second clip. This is number 1. Oh, sorry. This is clip number 1. I have a clip number 2, which is basically the exact same situation with the exact same player not retreating to the 10-meter line.
Okay. And you saying that even though red collected the ball, red still should be penalized here, right?
Well, that's the question. To me, if you're off, should be, because my understanding is that if he's offside and as long as he doesn't obstruct with play, it's you can't be put on side. You can't be put on side if you're within the 10-meter law, within 10 meters. Mm-hmm. But if you don't obstruct play, does it matter?
Yeah.
Yes, because he's within 10 meters.
Yeah. So they're within 10 meters. So just think of it this way. So they're kicking the ball there. Everybody that's going to be within 10 meters of where the ball lands, whether it's caught or hits the ground, they've got to push back 10 meters and they got to keep moving because visually they're obstructing the opposition, right? Because they're still in that space. So they've got to move and they've got to keep moving. And they only get put on side if they are retreating and one of the players who kicked the ball or was behind the kicker in their own team puts them on side. So they're offside here. This is a penalty or you're playing advantage right now. Right.
I know.
So they've got to be moving. Or so these players over here that are outside 10 meters, they can just stand there.
Right.
Right. But all of these players need to be moving backwards. These 3.
Right. Yeah. I know that they need to be retreating and they cannot be put on side by the opposition, or if the opposition runs 5 meters or a pass or this or that. They have to retreat to the 10-meter line. They can't be put on side. I just didn't know if they, I know they can't be put on side, but is it an automatic penalty? Whereas if you want to show the next clip, it is a penalty. I do blow the penalty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're liable to be penalized. And you offered them the option of the scrum, right? In front of the stick.
Yep.
Or in the 22,
Yep.
Yeah. And that's the same player?
Same player.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's pretty funny, eh? The other players seem to know what the law is, right? Most of the players seem to not be. This player only started moving once he was put on side by the kicker. So it's just that one player there definitely should be penalized, as you did. Yeah. Yep, that's correct. So is everybody clear about the first clip? So if you're within 10 meters of where the ball's going to bounce or where, and it's 10 meters towards their own goal line across the field. So they've got to be retreating until they get put onside by their own team. And the way they get put onside by their own team is if someone runs past them that was onside or behind the kicker, or they get back to 10 meters and they stop there. So Peter or Tig, what does the law say if they are retreating and the opposition plays the ball and like knocks it on?
They are not put onside.
Nothing the opponents do can put that player onside.
Great. Everyone happy?
And if that player is just standing still, if he doesn't retire, then he is not even put on by a teammate coming forward.
Exactly.
Kurt. Yep.
He has an active obligation to move back.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kirk, did you warn the player between clip 1 and clip 2 that he was liable for offsides after the first clip?
I definitely explained it to him after the penalty. I don't remember if I talked to him between the two. But those teams are kicking enough that they
penalized, right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. The teams were kicking a lot.
Yeah, they would go in spurts where they kick it back and forth, and for the majority, they knew what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
But front rowers.
Yeah. Okay. Maul held up in goal.
Yeah, go for it. Another botch call.
Well, hey, if they what that would make it 3, and how many decisions does the referee make in a game? About 600. That's pretty good going. So, should I just play through it?
Yeah, go for it. So I went to the 5-meter scrum because I blew the call and I made the hand motions for a maul held up, whereas a maul cannot take place. A maul can only take place in the field of play, which does not include the try zone. So therefore, it should have been held up, goal line dropout.
Right. Yeah. And even in these situations, I mean, so that we say that a referee can't change their decisions, but say, for instance, it does happen in the game and you're like, oh, sorry, it's a goal line dropout, or, something like that, or you award a free kick that should be a penalty, or penalty that should be a free kick. You can always go like, sorry, my error. It's this, it's definitely not such a big deal like back in the day when, once you made a decision, you had to stick to it always, so the important thing is that we get the decisions right. So, and as Kirk said, maul cannot be held up in goal. Maul's over, same like a ruck is over and in goal, which means that it would be a goal line dropout. You can watch it again if you want.
How long did you let that go on before you blew it up?
I was going to see if they had a chance to, put it on the ground or anything. I'm going to give them a second. But again,
they get into in goal. The attacking team wants to put it down. If they don't get it down, then it's held up.
Right.
Yeah, I think the red was starting to pick up the player too, right?
They were going to pick him up and turn him upside down. And then somebody was going to jump onto that pile.
I think it's wishful thinking, Peter.
And since it's not a maul, it's not illegal to jump onto it.
Yeah, but you can still say it's dangerous play, right?
None of the players disputed the referee's call, Richard, which goes to show.
Yeah,
none of the players.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Can I just make a statement there that if there's a no maul that forms like that in goal and somebody jumps on top of the non-maul, you can still penalize them for dangerous play. We don't allow foul play when it's only under the mall law and it's not a mall. Okay, so
Oh, but I thought
anything you
foul
think's
play.
dangerous could be dangerous.
Richard, you sure that foul play is everywhere? It's not restricted to just in the field of play?
Right, parking lots not included. Thanks, Kirk. Timmy, this is your clip, eh? What are we looking at?
A couple of things was it's undetected foul play. The referee could do nothing about it. But I had a message. I had a message a couple of weeks ago when Mark was hosting about players lying on the floor holding their head, and as when I do the education courses, when it's an L1, the first word you say in an education course is safety. And as we become better at refereeing and get more important in better games, that word must be carried with us the whole time. And when we see players lying on the floor, holding their heads, we just got to get them off the field so that they're not involved in a second impact.
Right. So, I mean, obviously it's, if you as a referee feel that a player is not, the player needs to go off because they injured, then that's what we do. Unfortunately, with quite a few of these games, we haven't had assigned assistant referees, because it's up to the local teams to contact the local referee organization to organize assistant referees, and if they don't, then you just got touch judges. So in these situations, what you're going to see right now is something that no referee would have picked up, because it happened so far away from play. And also, if you watch the game, it wasn't like it was a situation that there was a build up to it, right? It was just like a complete one-off situation.
It seemed completely unprovoked.
Yeah, exactly, right. I mean, if when you watch the whole game, there's nothing going on that would create the situation. It was just suddenly happened. So we'll play through it. But what happens is that the loose head from the yellow team headbutts the player from the red team, the tight head from the red team after they come up, after the ball's long gone, So there it happens, Number one. Totally unnecessary, And I mean, it's two players that have scrummed against each other the whole game. The whole game. So I don't know why it suddenly happened there. But it's unfortunate. And in these situations, the team's sight. So then we move on. But
when I originally clipped that, Richard, we weren't designated as the pair for tonight. I just wanted to make sure that the player was going to get cited for it, and Kirk has said that he has been cited.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all been taken care of. So that's good. But thanks, Timmy, and thanks, Kirk. And Kirk, thanks for your first presentation. It was great.
Appreciate it.
Just a couple of little things, and you'll probably see your penalty count will come down quite a bit once you get those slips fixed. But yeah, I mean, we've got more games coming up, so look forward to see how you progress from game to game. Thanks a lot. And let's just see if Kat has arrived yet. She's not here yet. She'll be shortly. So we're just going to look at the we're going to look at the other clip here. What was it? Frank, you had a clip that you put in? Is this a men's club game or college game?
This is Grand Canyon University versus a men's club.
Okay. Yeah. So floor is yours.
So this was one that Bob and I kind of thought was worth sharing with the group. It's a very strange mall. I guess it's just best to let it play through.
Okay.
So here, White catches it, gets tackled immediately upon landing, but also passes the ball back as he's falling to the ground. His teammates fall over him and the black player who kind of tackled him. And then this maul forms, it goes to ground, and they score a try. I think Bob spoke to Amanda, he mentioned, and I showed it to Delin, and Bob and I had a good conversation on it. It seems to be like just there's a lot happening, obviously, but I think the consensus is that it's probably obstruction right here as they try to form a maul. But there are some people who said that it's probably is a try. So I just wanted to bring this one to the group.
Okay, so
Frank,
yeah.
So you clearly have a tackle made. You clearly have players over the top of the ball. Is White picking up a ball that's technically in a ruck at that point, or is it just
no? The player the receiver lets go of the ball well before he gets anywhere near the ground. Like if you watch real quick, as soon as number 7 lands, he gets hit, but he also passes the ball back. Like the ball is within
these two players have the ball.
Now it's kind of towards the back right now. You can see it in between those two White players who are standing. Just watch 7's hands. As soon as he starts falling, both of his hands are empty.
Yeah,
right now.
Right here.
Yep.
Yep.
And now that ball is being worked back, and number 6 is about to have it in his hand, which you'll see it, and you'll see it out the back of number 6 here momentarily. Or these two guys are passing.
So now this player gets the ball, right?
Correct.
And they're driving into players. They're driving into players in front of them.
Correct.
So, because right now this is not a maul, right? This is just a bunch of players on the ground.
Correct.
A bunch of players on the feet.
And it's not a ruck either, you're saying?
Right.
Well,
now it becomes a ruck.
Right. Now it becomes a ruck.
Now nobody can pick it up.
It's a maul. The ball is not on the ground.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where's the ball?
The ball's not on the ground.
The ball is in the back. I'm sorry.
The ball's right here. So what happened is when the player went down, the catcher, they passed the ball to this player on the far side. They handed the ball to them. And then that player here handed it to this player. So right now the ball's never touched the ground, ever. And there's been no player that's had the ball on the ground. So the ball's still in the air.
Yeah, but
so now this player joins here, which could make it a maul.
Yeah, but the ball is in the back at the moment the maul is formed.
Yeah, I think there's two issues here.
Yeah.
I agree with Peter. And then I think as the transfer goes back, like Richard, if you take it back a couple of frames, right where the transfer happens.
From the catcher.
Yes, so as White 7's trying to put it back, it looks like two players. I think there's separation there. And now you have a pot of players in front of the two players who are trying to take the ball from White 7.
Yeah.
So I agree with Peter in that, one, the ball's gone straight to the back. So you've essentially skipped the level. So you've put it right to the player at the end. And I don't think there's an obvious bind from either player in that instance. I think that ends any chances that haven't been a maul. Now we have obstruction.
Okay. And I agree with you, Mike. But it's very technical if you watch it at full speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, no, so I'm not really saying that.
Yeah, it's really interesting as to what you should actually do when you watch it in real time.
I think the trigger should be that as soon as you see that go down to the front, you're deciding whether or not it's a sack. If you agree it's a sack, then you can't have this piece. I don't think you can have this piece happen. Yeah, you're looking for where the ball needs to go also. And it's a ton of things to look for. But I think the sack is fine. The handoff is part of the problem because it doesn't go to the next level. It goes straight to the back. That should be a trigger. So
at which point, if you call accidental offsides, that's the least painful way out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the easiest option here is to go turnover scrum. You're like,
call accidental offsides. They ran into their own teammate in front of it, and no one's going to question you.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. Crazy. That's a great clip. Thank you. Let's see, has Kat arrived? She has not yet arrived. Let's just see where she is. 2038. Jamie's not on yet either because he's been doing other meetings. There's her reviewer. There
I'm
she
here.
is. Hey.
Sorry. Thank you
No
for
problem.
being patient.
Here's your game.
This is my game. Yes. So I went to the East Coast. I had Navy against Cal. It was a super thrilling match, super exciting to be a part of. My goals coming in, I had another match a couple of days before. And so I kept basically the same goals, and I tried to do what I did well in that match, tried to do more of that. So I wanted to let the game breathe. So I didn't want to be overly like trigger happy with the whistle. I wanted to keep up the good work that I had at the set piece. And then I had an issue with players being really yelly and shouty at me. And that caused me to derail and kind of just shut down emotionally. So my goal for this match was to be ready for that and just be ready to absorb that pressure, as well as just being firm of like, you can't talk to me that way. So that was how the game went. Yeah.
And the stats are looking a lot tighter in one game to the next, right? I mean, like, great scrum ball out, great scrum advantage, great penalty advantage. You know,
a lot of those penalty advantages were like 5 meters out from the goal line.
Yeah, no, but still.
Yeah. Well, it worked from the last game where I did not have as good penalty advantage. So Miles helped me with that kind of like, are we really playing penalty advantage at the 50? Are they really going to gain anything? So.
Absolutely, yeah. And then also the penalties are spread over a couple of more things, right? So,
yeah. And then there was a surprising amount of foul play, but they were all kind of one-off instances. There wasn't like a overall angry trend. There was, I mean, mostly dangerous tackles, but one shoulder that we'll look at, two just over the shoulder, like face, arm to face kind of penalty onlys, and then like a grass cutter tackle. But they were kind of spread out, so interesting. Yeah, we can go to the clips though. So let's do mall defense worth a card. The middle one. So context, this penalty was from a mall that probably went about 20 meters when it was collapsed. I mean, easy decision. So Navy's like, yep, let's do that again. But that was the first penalty at the mall before that. So we can just watch this through. And they do take a weirdly long time to walk in. Cal wasn't being argumentative about it, so. So for me, for blue, clearly, rebinds to latch onto the ball carrier as it spins around. I'm just wondering, given the context of the game, do we think that this is card worthy? Do we think this is stern warning? They do end up scoring. Or maybe we do even think that this is a little bit more. So there's this first maul, and then as it spins off, you'll see 4 just kind of from where he is. He's just like, well, I'll just turn. So, pull to the crowd. Just a penalty, worth more. Maybe we need some more context.
I would go with a stern warning. They're smart enough to know what they're doing, particularly within the 22. So I don't know if it'd be a card at 20 minutes in, but definitely a stern warning, potentially cynical, kind of that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Say that this has just been you just had a dropping the maul penalty against Cal?
Yeah, but it was like a maul that went like 20 meters, and I mean, Cal had no other option. So it was like, this one's a bit more messy as opposed to the other one was like super clean, obvious. Everyone's like, yeah, thanks for dropping that, because they were going to score from 50 meters out.
Yeah. So,
Cat, question for you. Were you thinking about the first infringement by number 4 or potentially the second one?
Yeah, I was thinking about the first infringement.
So, Richard, do you mind just because I think you get the first one right. I think it's he not only he puts himself there, I think the Navy player, which is actually pretty impressive. But the first action, I think you get right, which you put your arm out for, but you can just play it through.
Yeah. So are you playing advantage because number 4 is trying to collapse the maul here, right?
That's not why I'm playing advantage. If you go through, when the maul spins, 4 rebinds and just...
Yeah, so that's what I mean.
Yeah, but I was wondering how was number 4 able to be part of the maul here with their feet in the air for so long? Did you notice that? It was like they were trying to collapse it, but they were just not. Like it's almost like they're dancing. Look at that.
Then he just
and then they rebind, right? I mean, they were hoping it was going to collapse.
And then he collapses it, which is a good play by Lex.
I think the first one, penalty only warning. Second one, yellow card. He had the first one. I think the first one it wasn't cynical to take down, and I don't think it's yellow card worthy. But I think the fact that he decided to then collapse it afterwards, I think, especially after the action that got them down at this point, I don't think anyone would argue that.
Okay.
So my question is, you played advantage and White scored, right?
Oh, yes, they did.
Okay. Well, I mean, it sort of gets them a get out of jail free situation, right? Because it always feels like once they've scored the try, to go back and give the yellow card just seems a little bit excessive, right?
And that actually happened like later in the game against Navy as well. I was kind of like, "Ooh, good thing we scored here." And I think had I given this yellow card here, I would have been a bit more. Once Cal scored on the other end at the end of the half, I would have been like, "Yeah, Navy, I'm still yellow carding you too."
Yeah.
So I think
if the 9 knocked it on from Navy, would you have given a penalty try?
I don't think I would have given a penalty try. I do think if the 9 had knocked it on, I would have given a card. I think it's a good question.
Yeah, I think that we don't play advantage for penalty tries, right? So I'm sure, right, Kat, if you thought it was going to be a try, then you would have given a penalty try immediately, right?
Yeah, I would have.
And given a card.
I think the key thing is what Lex said, is I think when I started playing advantage for the side entry by 4, I tuned out because I was like, well, I've got this one. And I didn't keep processing of like, oh, now he's collapsing it. Would that have possibly been a try, or probably been a try if not for that action? So I think that's just on me to keep the focus, and like you can keep playing, you can start a new penalty advantage if something else were to happen.
Yeah. And
did you address this after?
What?
Did you address this after? Like, I know they scored, but did you bring it up to Cal? This was something that happened twice?
Yes, I did. But
I mean, this also isn't a simple Navy's driving forward, Cal collapses. Navy's trying to spin this thing around to the right. And that's part of why the structure falls apart, because of Navy's trying to legally do on attack.
Yeah. Well, I think this segues well into our next clip. Go to the next clip.
Okay, can I just say one more thing before we move on from this?
Yes.
When you're refereeing the game in any situation, on most occasions when you're going toward a penalty try, you are in a situation where you are contextually going, here comes a try, and then it gets stopped by illegal action, and then it's easier for you to make the decision. But if you suddenly see like a collapse in the mall and you weren't thinking that they were going to score a try beforehand, then it's not a penalty try. And, you know, if you can bring a lot of that thinking into your refereeing, you'll make those decisions a lot easier with a lot less pressure. You know, so you're going like, oh, here comes a try. Oh, it was a high tackle, easy decision, penalty try, yellow card. Right? Same thing with the mall. You know, when you got a mall going like a very structured mall, whereas this was not a structured mall, it was falling apart, right? But a very structured mall that's marching towards the goal line, you're going to go, there's probably going to be a try here, right? And then it gets collapsed and it's easy to go and award the penalty try. So if you're not thinking about awarding a penalty try in retrospect and you never thought it was going to be a try before, then it probably wasn't going to be a try before. Right. What's the next one?
Mall defense side entry. Yep. So, with the context, Navy has now realized how fantastic the mall is. So they get a penalty and they're like, we're going to kick for touch and we're going to maul it. So I end up calling a side entry against Cal, and I just want to know, is this material? Do we need to call this?
Kat, you're talking from the far side?
No. But the fact that you didn't see it.
I'm talking blue 3?
Yeah, I am talking about blue 3. So I just, I mean, actually, please give me your opinions before I say what I think.
Do you think he did it to stop the momentum moving forward?
I do. And I think he succeeded.
So I think there's your answer.
Yeah, what do you think is the material? Just because Navy's dominance, or?
I think I just draw attention to, like, you see side entries like this a lot, and they aren't always material. Like sometimes a guy comes in kind of from the side and the mall keeps moving forward. I think for me, the trigger was this stopped the forward momentum of the mall, but it is different from like a very cynical side entry where he just comes bulleting in from the side. Like he's still facing from his own defensive line. He's just clearly in front of that last foot and he stopped the momentum. So that was my thought process, but I just wanted to hear what other people thought, because
he was always offside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were on. I mean, it disrupts it, it stops it, slows it down. You called it.
Yeah, Kat, I spoke early from the early part, but that absolutely stops it.
Even if number 3 was behind the last feet, joining where they joined is illegal, right?
Yeah.
And material.
So my next question is, we just had the mall that we saw before where I had put Cal on a warning about infringements at the mall. Do we think this is worth a yellow card?
So far away, you know. Far away.
I don't. I feel like a yellow card here would be really, really tough. But I think it's important to, like, if you back yourself into a corner saying next one at the mall's a yellow card and you're in the middle of the field like this.
You could just say I mean, it's still a penalty to white, you know, but I mean, if obviously if it was in the 22, you would have yellow carded them, right? So
yeah,
it's just contextually, you know, you can just What did you say to Cal?
After the try was scored?
No, now, after
here?
this one.
I think said side entry, you stop the forward momentum. The 3 was pretty upset, but then it was actually funny because one of the malls later, he was like, can you please stand at the back where I'm going to join because I want to make sure I'm doing it right. I've never been told where to stand by a player before. It was actually it was really interesting. I was like, okay. So he clearly wanted to be better, but he just.
But it's also why you don't back yourself into corners.
Exactly, and that's but it's just interesting if you look at the clock. Like this happened like 3 minutes after, and they had to kick.
I know, but you can always give the Cal captain a look and go like, "That's the second time," just sort of.
Their captain's the 15, so I definitely give.
Keep it mild. give them a long look, a long far look.
And then just my last one is the foul play high tackle. This is kind of my success because I've been really bad at getting these upright head contact tackles. Ignore this knock on thing. So it's this hit by 19. I've been really bad at getting these live. And when I have been getting them, they haven't been really correct. So on review, for me, this is easily a card. But in the game, I'm really glad I got that live. And even if I can't, A++ get the correct sanction, I still got it live. And I think that's really important.
Absolutely. Did you award a card here?
I did not.
Okay.
That would have been an A++. I'll take a B. I got a degree.
Yeah.
At least
and we've been saying this all the way from the fall, a mitigating factor is always going to be that you're not 100% sure. And if you're going to give a card, you've got to be 100% sure, and if you're not 100% sure, it's a mitigating factor, but at least award the penalty. And I think, especially with upright tackles, we had so many, we've had quite a few less this spring, but definitely had quite a lot in the fall, and as Kat says, it's a win because she got the call right. She got the call. So
yeah, so that was just my mini success. But yeah, thank you.
Excellent.
Great discussion.
Yeah,
guys.
thank you, and all the best on your travels.
Thank you.
So if anybody doesn't know that Kat's going over to do Six Nations match in a couple of weeks, so congratulations.
Thank you. England, Italy.
Congratulations.
I'm actually going to do it this year. I promise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No COVID.
Same match from last year, knock on wood.
Yeah. I think we have one more clip here from, but thanks, Kat. I really appreciate it and look forward to Jamie's report when he gets to it.
Yeah, thank you, Richard, and thank you everyone that helped out with the mall stuff. Really helpful.
Yeah, and thanks for doing those two games so back to back, and yeah, we'll be watching you on TV. Good stuff.
Richard, if you want to refresh it, I actually just added another one just for continuity discussion on cats, just to make it more fun.
Okay, do you want to do the foul play or the mall?
Let's just do the foul play one first, since it's just continuity. So this happens in the first 15 seconds of the game.
And what was your decision?
I went yellow card.
Mm-hmm. Yep, fair enough. Both of them were ducking a bit, right? So yellow card's fair.
Yeah. Obviously, I didn't see the right shoulder. So
Sure.
I think if I was on the other side, I would have made the decision a bit more orange to me. But on the day, this for me, this was just I don't want to say an easy card to give, but just quick. Didn't fuss about it. Just gave the yellow card
Yeah.
and moved on with it.
Yeah. So this player was bending down, that player was bending down. So yellow's
Yeah.
fair, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then this is just continuity on your conversation, Richard, about just contemplating yellow card penalty try. It's not as good of footage as Cats, so it's a little bit harder to see where actually the try line is and how much momentum they had. So I hope we can just maybe, I don't know if we can zoom in, Richard, but just for the sake of it.
Let's just watch it this way first.
Yeah. So that was it. There's nothing really much to see after that. So for me live, I didn't view it to be enough momentum to go penalty try yellow card here, but the thought definitely went through my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And also the guy who did collapse this one was the guy yellow carded that we just saw 2 seconds ago.
Tackle.
Yep. That didn't play into my mind, but when he got up and I was like, oh, that would have been an interesting thing to do.
Yeah.
Penalty try, red card. That would have been a first.
If he's going to do that kind of thing, then it's the coach's fault for leaving him in the game.
If I'm not mistaken, this all happened within the first 15 minutes, Peter.
Yeah, but he's under a yellow. He's prone to do that kind of thing again. You change him out, even if it is that soon.
Anyways, it's not the point of the discussion, but I just thought this would be something good to add, just based on what you wanted to add, Richard, after Kat's discussion.
Yeah.
Also, hasn't this wall stopped twice already? It stopped once with red driving, and then once with green driving, and then picked up again.
So you could always have said to him when you penalize, you could always say, "You're lucky it was your friend who brought that mall down." I'm just joking. But yeah, I mean, it didn't look like, Green only got momentum once the mall was down, right? So once the mall had gone to ground, that they sort of go flying forward. So that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think it would have been a bit harsh, but I just thought this would be a good clip to add just for continuity discussion.
Yeah, because I don't think at any point you were going like Green's going to score a try now. So as we said, that's normally a good thing.
Yeah.
But interesting clips and watching yourself in the rain, right? And the mud and the pixels.
Oh my God. That was and if on the report, one of the things I wanted to do was, better work rate. The conditions definitely didn't help out with that. But obviously just a major takeaway from my perspective, even if the conditions are pretty horrible, you still got to get dirty.
Yeah. How was the maybe you would share with us how the whole travel experience was, because it's quite a thing, right?
Which trip? The first trip to Arkansas State or the second trip?
Yes.
Well, the first trip, my flight got canceled and I had to hitch a ride with somebody to the Memphis airport, an hour and a half away. And this past weekend, they gave me the largest pickup truck. And for those who don't know, I don't drive here in New York City, nor do I ever drive a massive pickup truck. And I got pulled over by a state trooper on the highway. And he pulled me over because he realized I couldn't drive the car and thought I was trafficking drugs or weapons, but all good. And then that same state trooper ran into the life coaching staff and went up to them saying, "I think I pulled over your referee yesterday." So always a good way to start the day when the head coach of life comes up to you and says, "I heard you have some law enforcement issues here in Arkansas." Great way to start the day.
Yeah, well, at least you made it out of there again, right? So,
yeah. Granted, covered in mud and my shoes took about 4 days to dry, but yeah, it was all good. It was fun. The players definitely had a better time than I did, for sure.
Yeah. Thanks, Lex. Appreciate you putting in all that effort to travel out there. It's there are a couple of venues that are difficult to get to, you know.
It's definitely an experience for anybody who wants to go down there. And if you want to know the best Indian food, I got you guys.
And some excellent rugby, right?
Well, that wasn't obvious.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, thanks for putting the clips in, Lex. Appreciate it.
All good.
We're a couple of minutes over, so I'm just going to quickly summarize. But in front of kicker, players that are offside within 10 meters of where the ball's going to land or where somebody's going to catch it, they have to actively be moving to be 10 meters away from that spot. And they can only be put on side by their own team. So if they're retiring and their own players run past them, they become onside, right? But they got to keep moving. And the reason why we do penalize them is because even visually, they're offside, they're in that space. It's the same with players that are in front of the kicker and moving forward. What they're doing is they're taking away space by just moving forward and getting in the sort of visual or peripheral vision of the player who's trying to play the ball. So we want to make sure we get them out of the way and that we do penalize them. And also always remember that it's the option, right? So it's the penalty where they were offside, or it's a scrum where the ball was kicked from. So always make sure you give them that option. Second thing, ball held up and in goal is a 22-meter dropout, ball taken in by the attack. Foul play, and we've said this quite a few times. It's great
you just said 22-meter, I think.
Sorry?
That isn't what you meant. I think you just said it was a 22-meter dropout. That isn't what you meant.
Sorry, goal line dropout. Yeah, sorry, goal line dropout. Sorry, I was living in the 80s for a moment there. No, it actually would be a scrum in the 80s, right? And the 90s and the 2000s. Anyway, Maul going into in goal, it's held up as a goal line dropout. Right, next thing, foul play. We're very happy to see that the referees are getting better at getting these upright tackles. Always remember that it's a mitigating factor if you're not 100% sure. So it's great that we're getting these calls and we want to be better and be more accurate at it. But you always have to be 100% sure when you're going to make a decision where you're going to give a yellow card or a red card. And last thing is we're talking about a maul. Just think about it contextually. And I think your contextual refereeing will always improve the more you watch rugby. And the more you watch rugby, you see those situations in the 22 or breakaway where there's going to be a try. You go, here comes a try, and then something crazy happens. There's foul play. It's very easy for you to award the penalty try and give the yellow card in those situations. It's the same with the maul, right? So if the maul is moving steadily towards the goal line, you go like, they're going to go and score try, and they collapse it, then it's easy to give the penalty try. So just think about that contextually. You're always ready for those decisions rather than something happens and you go, oh, what should I do now? Right? But it's great to see everybody making, we're making better decisions as a group if we go through these games. And let's keep up and let's keep working on those things and let's keep improving our strategic refereeing. Again, when we look at the competencies that the referee coaches mark as green are the ones that they feel that the referee achieved, right? And if anybody has any time to go and look at the stats, they've just updated this, that the stats actually are functioning, so you can go referee stats with reviewers. As an example, Lex was just on here. we can select Lex, and you can see in only 2 games, the competencies were marked, right? And you got accuracy, and then you can also go to your own competencies. Once you get a couple of games behind you and the competencies, you can set this up so it's all competitions. You don't just have to have D1a, but you can also see the team's performances, but you can see your own performances. So, for instance, Lex can look at this, competencies. He's much better. He's good in space, big decisions, empathy, materiality. And then, these are the things to work on: advantage, balance, breakdown. But, that information you only get if you consistently have reviewers helping you, working with you, referee coaches working with you and assisting you with the competencies, and that you have clear discussions with them so that both the referee and the referee coach know why they are selecting competency or not. But the stats page are here, and they're all functioning now. You can select season, you can select competitions, referee coaches, teams, etc. So you can even go to teams before you're refereeing them and look at their stats. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to finish. Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight, and all the best this weekend. We've only got 3 rounds left in the pool competition. Then we start with playoffs, and hopefully within the next week to 2 weeks, we'll start getting assignments out for the playoffs. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night. Good night.
Thanks, Richard. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Good night.